a German attorney and Professor International Emeritus of International Law at UNISA, Professor Thomashausen, joins us now to talk more on these views that he expressed. So interestingly, in that article, Professor Thomashausen, your opening words were that Ramaphosa, the dream candidate of the EU in 2017, has reached his sell-by date. So he was the dream candidate. Why?
Because he was believed to be a successful businessman. People didn't look exactly at the performance of his businesses. They didn't realize what role he played in the downturn of London, where a share price of maybe £10 fell to 10 pence. They didn't look at Chanduka. They didn't look at actual performance. They were hoping that a pragmatist, in a way a social democrat, would tame the transformation energy of the ANC, would tame the leanings towards a very radical economic transformation, which, according to the EFF, should follow the model of Venezuela. And South Africa, according to the EFF, should have a president like Hugo Chavez. So that was the hope. That's why the West supported very strongly the Ramaphosa candidature, even financially. A lot of money was raised in London to help him win the nomination at the ANC conference at the time. But he hasn't fulfilled the promises.
Do you not think the continued interference of countries in the West, Europe, the United States, as you mentioned, a lot of money was raised in London to support Cyril Ramaphosa's candidature. Surely that was not for nothing. It was so that you are backing someone who would then basically be at the forefront of promoting Europe's position and their foreign policy position on what South Africa ought to be doing, as opposed to what may be best for South Africans. And, do you not think that is problematic, Professor?
Well, you put it, you put your finger on the wound. Yes, of course. Our friends in Europe have not always served this country well. Let us go to the original sin of the ANC, which was the arms deal. Europe basically bribed South African decision makers to agree to purchase systems that were totally unsuitable to our environment and that are now unserviceable. Of the 3 frigates, only 1 can run. Of the 3 submarines, none is serviceable. Most of the helicopters are unserviceable. The fighter jets, I think only 2 are running out of 19 purchased. These were systems that we couldn't maintain, that we didn't have the money to service, and that had requirements, skills requirements that this country could not fulfill. So, and we carried on with the energy transition, while about 60% of the global warming goes on the account of the United States and Europe, and our contribution here in South Africa is a mere 2%. We were forced, we were pushed, our politicians were basically bribed with enormous promises and large amounts of money to switch out perfectly well-functioning power stations and to throw this country into an energy emergency. Our politicians were basically bribed with enormous promises and large amounts of money to switch out perfectly well-functioning power stations and to throw this country into an energy emergency. Our politicians were basically bribed with enormous promises and large amounts of money to switch out perfectly well-functioning power stations and to throw this country into an energy emergency. This was actually not our making. So yes, the interests of Europe and the interests of the United States aren't always coinciding with the need for South Africans to see progress and to develop and to have better opportunities. But then it is for politicians who take on the role of leaders to weigh these things, to be steadfast, to make choices and to be courageous.